Since Mikel Arteta first arrived at Arsenal a whole year ago, Arsenal fans have supported and backed the Spaniard entirely. Although there should be no debate about Arteta's position today, after winning both the FA Cup and Community Shield just 4 months ago, Arsenal's recent run of form has led to questions about Arteta's position at the club. No matter what, I firmly believe that Arteta needs and deserves the time to get it right. The Spaniard has already demonstrated he is capable of reshaping and rebuilding this Arsenal team. His initial impact since arriving was very similar to that of Jurgen Klopp's when the German first joined Liverpool in 2015. Although consistency was lacking, his vision came together against the big teams. Let's not forget, Arteta led Arsenal to his victories against Chelsea, City, United, and Liverpool, with an Arsenal team that seriously needed rebuilding. The Spaniard won his first major trophy within just 8 months of being hired. He was pivotal in the recruitment of both Gabriel and Thomas Partey, two of Arsenal's best performers this season. And yet, despite all the progress, Arsenal still sit 15th in the table, having failed to win their last 4 league games. So, what's the true problem at Arsenal Football Club? Is it truly Mikel Arteta? Or is the root of the problem a little bit deeper? Perhaps the super agent who now runs Arsenal Football Club. If there's one thing that's been clear in the years since Arsene Wenger's departure, is the lack of a plan when it comes to Arsenal's recruitment policy. First, it was Sven Mislintat, the super scout behind Klopp's most dominant Dortmund sides. Then, it was Raul Sanllehi, the connected director of football behind some of Barca's biggest ever signings. Both men came with high hopes and aspirations, but then, just like that, they were gone. Then came Edu Gaspar, the ex-Arsenal midfielder who had been applying his trade in Brazil as technical director of Corinthians and then the Brazilian national team. When it was announced this summer that Arteta would be taking charge of recruitment with Edu after Sanllehi's departure, it was met with both optimism and relief, as it seemed as if Arsenal had finally developed a plan. And yet, despite the optimism, recruitment continues to remain one of Arsenal's largest issues. But the question is, why? There are too many mixed signals when it comes to recruitment. While the signings of Gabriel and Partey reflect Arteta's vision, the signings of Willian, Cedric, and David Luiz reflect the vision of another man, agent Joorabchian. Don't get me wrong, while Willian was a tremendous player at Chelsea, handing a huge contract to a 32-year-old sends a contradictory message when Arsenal seem to be building for the future. The signing of Cedric in January was both expensive and ludicrous, considering the fact the right-back had yet to make an appearance for the club and was behind both Bellerin and Maitland-Niles in the pecking order. While the Luiz signing is debatable in terms of his contributions on the pitch, once again, you have to wonder why a 33-year-old is getting an extremely expensive contract extension despite being one of 8 centre-backs at the club, an outrageous number even for a large club like Arsenal. And yet, it all begins to make sense once you realize who each player's agent is, and even more so when you realize that Arsenal's very own technical director is represented by the very same agent. To me, the Willian signing looks like an agent securing a final payday for a fine player past his best. The Cedric signing looks like an agent securing 4 years for his client being paid at the highest level, while the Luiz signing looks like an agent confirming his influence on club's recruitment. Add in Pablo Mari and the heavy links to Coutinho, and you have to start to wonder, who's running Arsenal Football Club? Is it truly Edu and Arteta? Does Arteta really have as much say as we're led to believe? Or is it now fully controlled by Joorabchian, the super agent who represents some of football's biggest stars? Now I want to be clear, I have nothing against clubs having a good relationship with agents. It's a huge part of the modern game, but at the same time, it only works if the relationship is mutually beneficial. Take Wolverhampton Wanderers as an example. While people may ridicule Wolves for being so close to Jorge Mendes, it's been Mendes' clients who have propelled Wolves to all their recent success. Mendes has been supplying Wolves with young, hungry players who suit the way they want to play. Under Mendes' influence, Wolves have gone from the Championship to Europa League in just 4 years' time. Mendes' players perform well, maximize value, and move on for bigger fees. Both parties win. The same cannot be said for Arsenal, however. Luiz is 33, Willian is 32, and Cedric is 29. None of these players will be moved on for larger fees. None of these players have been performing well. And so far, none of these signings have worked out for Arsenal. And yet, they've all worked out for Joorabchian. From an agent's perspective, he secured the long-term futures for 3 of his clients, while taking a percentage of their money the entire time. And to think, that's not the worst of it. This isn't the first time Joorabchian has tried to influence a football club. Just 15 years ago, Joorabchian founded Media Sports Investments, otherwise known as MSI. In 2004, MSI formed a partnership with Brazilian club Corinthians. Initially, their impact on Corinthians was positive. They brought in investment and funds that helped Corinthians win the Brazilian Championship in 2005. However, soon after that, things began to unravel. The partnership between Corinthians and MSI was scheduled to run for 10 years, but only lasted 3. People began to question where MSI were getting their funds, and who was behind the sports investment group. It was eventually announced that the Corinthians-MSI partnership was being used to launder money for various oligarchs in Europe. Although Joorabchian denied his involvement, he faced charges of money laundering. In 2007, the partnership between the two was scrapped, and Joorabchian was wanted for arrest. He fled the country and returned to the UK, and that same year, Corinthians was relegated from the First Division, just a few years after winning the title. There's no doubt that Joorabchian's influence in Brazil was extremely shady, and although he could never pull off a similar stunt at Arsenal, you have to wonder what his intentions are with the club. All I know is that his influence on Arsenal's most recent signings is a scary sign. As Arsenal fans, it's easy to let emotions affect our decisions. Results have been poor, and while Arteta is at fault, let's not forget who the real problem is. Here, Joorabchian.
Time to go!
As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed this type of video, and make sure to follow me on Instagram at InsideArsenalFC. I'll be doing a Christmas giveaway for a retro Arsenal jersey and jacket, which I'll be announcing very soon on my Instagram. Don't miss out, and as always, I appreciate the love and support. Thanks again. Inside Arsenal, out.